What other games are you playing right now except for Valorant?
Oh my god, I am so into Enshrouded right now.
Oh no.
I love survival games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't really like to play anything that's competitive because I want to focus my competitive focus on Valorant. So Enshrouded is like my turn off my brain, have fun kind of game. So yeah, I'm grinding that game. I won't lie.
When do you find time to grind it though?
I mean, I'm not always playing ranked after pracs, but it always depends on a little bit how exhausting practice has been. So if it's been a long day of practice or we just didn't have a good day of practice, I will just prefer not to keep on playing Valorant because I'm already in a mindset where things are not really working out in Valorant. And I really think that you have to have a clear mind to perform well. So on good practice days, I will usually also play ranked after, or I'm literally in front of my PC all day, every day. So I can have practice, I can stream, and then I can play Enshrouded.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But see, I do that like even the smallest change, which is kind of funny because it's like I'll work in front of the computer all day, like in games or playing games on PC, whatever. And then when I get sick of it, I just go to my Xbox. Like that's my like like that's my breakaway of like, well, it's a little bit different. So I'll play like right now I'm playing Rivals on Xbox or something like that with my kids, or like role-playing games or something like that instead. Like I don't really go do anything else. And I don't know how I trick myself into like that's big enough of a difference. Like
Yeah.
I'm not in front of the computer anymore. I'm in front of the Xbox.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
In the same position.
same exact position. Yeah, same exact position.
What kind of practice schedule do you guys have right now?
Oh, I mean, since we literally just finished this week with all the maps, so that's what we've been practicing like the last 3-4 weeks after we started up. So we just finished all the pracs, and now next week we will go into our tournament schedule, which usually means we only have one day off. So we're gonna switch around now, and then we have like 3 to 4 long days a week, which is then for practice, and then we have review time after practice, and we have theory time before practice. And then also I will always meet with the coach before and manager just to have like a leadership group to kind of, if there's any rounds that we just saw on BCT that we want to try and implement in our own gameplay, we will like talk about it and how can we kind of like, what are we missing, what kind of can we brainstorm to implement that into the day and make our maps better. So it switches sometimes, and then we have short days too, which is basically that just 3 games in a row with some theory before. We always end with review just to go through our mistakes and make sure that we don't really take those mistakes into the day after. Yeah.
How do you manage all that and like try to live a healthy lifestyle and even sleep? Because it seems like
And play Enshrouded.
exactly, yeah. Like it just seems like there's not enough hours in the day, right? You guys are doing all of this stuff. On top of it, you have leadership roles that you're trying to fill as well. And then we know that it's not good to sit at the computer all day, and we should be doing something, right? It could be anything, literally just walking. But I know like a lot of gamers don't do it. So how do you manage that?
I wouldn't say that I'm the healthiest right now, but at least our practice is going good. I did buy like an at-home treadmill that's still in the box, but I bought it. I bought it and I'm ready to use it. Maybe I'll pack it out this weekend because my parents are coming to visit. I don't live in Denmark. I live in Germany, so they're from Denmark, so they're coming to visit. So maybe this is a perfect opportunity to flex so they bought a treadmill and they can help me build it.
Yeah, perfect. There you go.
Welcome to my home. Can you help me build it?
I mean, come on, it should be like that, no?
Yeah.
But else, I would say, I mean, I always get like between 7 and 8 hours of sleep. So like sleep is pretty good. It's not at normal hours, really. I would say that I always have my alarm at 11 a.m. and it's just our practice usually starts around 12. So I have like this hour to wake up. And then I try to don't go to bed later than 3, because then I get that 8 hours of sleep. But usually I'm off the PC like at midnight, 1 a.m. and it's usually only Enshrouded that keeps me later than 2
Okay.
a.m.
Okay. Well, it's decompressing time then, so that's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
I tried so many different things to like exercise while I was at the computer. Like, oh, I'll get I don't know, I had one of those things you like stick under the desk that's like a bicycle thing. But then like still I'm on calls and stuff, then it just looks weird. Like I thought no one could tell, but I'm still like on Zoom, like look like doing this, and they're like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Or I tried, and I've had friends that'll do like the standing desk with like a treadmill, and they're like that, but then you're just like sweaty and half out of breath, like on all the calls and stuff like that. Like it's strange.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think that would be. I could put this treadmill in front of the PC. It's like a mobile one, so you can put it like under the bed or something.
Yeah.
But I do talk a lot during practice, and I would definitely be out of breath. Like, goodness, that would be terrible. That would be terrible.
Are all your practices? You guys are all in Germany right now, right?
No, we're not. We're not actually. I mean, G2 is based in Germany, but we don't have to be here. I only moved here so I could live with my boyfriend. But else, everyone else lives in their home countries, and whatever people prefer. Many of them are like homebodies or living home still. We still have some quite young players.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
they prefer there.
And then you guys probably boot camp before big tournaments, right?
We do every time. We will play, since GC EMEA is like 1 month long. So there's like 2 weeks where we have the group stage, and then there's like 2 weeks ish of playoffs. We do always go on boot camps for playoffs, and we take group stages home, just because I mean we would be on boot camp for like 4 months a year. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. But our next boot camp will be then around just the beginning of March, I think. And on top of that, we will have the VCL qualifier on our boot camp. So I'm really excited for that.
That's awesome. I guess how is practice in person compared to online? Because I think Wayne's even talked about this, because Aimlabs is remote, right? So everyone is scattered everywhere. But he was saying, well, I'll let you say it.
Which part?
Yeah.
The many nuggets of like in person versus kind of remote. Yeah, it seems like for sure there's some things that work better in a remote setting. Like it has its kind of pluses and minuses. But then anytime I want to do anything like really collaborative or like team building and stuff like that, it really helps to be in person. Because like I feel, although gaming might be a little bit different, because I feel like when I'm playing games with people, I at least have some attenuation of like their emotional state. But like at a company, when you're just like on Slack or something, and you'd have no idea if someone's like having a bad day or kind of whatever else, and you're just like messaging something that may make them feel worse, or you know what I mean? They don't know the context of it or anything. When you're like together, you'd be like, oh man, it looks like, they're having a bad day. Let's go get some pizza, or like, let's take a break from work and kind of go do whatever. So do you think it's kind of the same thing? Like as you're boot camping, there's like significant advantages, but still some from being apart, other than being able to live where you want to live?
I mean, I think like for practice and stuff, it's a bit whatever. I think that the worst part is the focus level of people and how easy it is to be distracted when you're at home. Like in between games, you will like go to the kitchen, talk with your parents, talk with your partner, and just easily get out of the focus zone. Before practice though, we always have a mood check, which basically is just like you're saying your energy level and your mood, your current mood, just to make sure that if anyone is going through anything, or if they just woke up really tired or not in the best mood, they're just stating it before we actually start practicing. Just to check up on people and make sure if there's anything we have to be aware of. But when you're actually on boot camp, I think it's like the environment is just so different, and you can really feel like you're a team, and it's a bit easier to forget at home, even though you spend the majority of the day together. It's just like after practice, usually also like you're done with each other. Like you don't speak until next practice day, kinda. But on boot camp, you're stuck with each other, and you're like forced to really build a connection with each other. And also the fist bumping part, I love that. I think it's just we will do it in practice at boot camp because it creates a good atmosphere.
Yeah.
And you can really see when people are unfocused or if they're like, it's very hard to get distracted on boot camp because you don't have your phone on your table and you're not watching your notifications or like tapping out during the game or something, because we will see you if you do it.
And they do that because you're IGLing, right?
Yes.
So when I was playing Counter-Strike, I was IGLing and we would be doing server work. And then one person wouldn't move, and I'm like, "Are you fucking tabbing right now?" Like this used to drive me nuts, and it turned into like a meme that we would always say to this one person. I'm not gonna name him, but he would always tab while we're trying to do server work, and it would drive me insane.
Yeah, I feel you. I like online the focus. Like there is just a lot of practice that is not as useful because of the lack of focus, and it can also just be maintaining like the energy being at home. It's just you don't get that extra boost from being with your teammates. So like practice can be like really tough to go through sometimes because you can make so many stupid mistakes that you don't usually would do. Or if you're in an official game, you wouldn't peek like that or use your utility like that, of course. So I love bootcamps. I will be on it 365 days of the year if I could.
It is. It's like a common theme. It's interesting that we've seen as we've talked to people is how like the idea that the brain is like a context machine, and like even things like that, where if it was a boot camp versus at home, there's mistakes you would make or wouldn't make, and how those things just like really influence behavior and habits and all of that stuff. That's pretty powerful. But kind of what led you? What was your story into becoming what you are today? Who you are today?
It was definitely not on purpose. It just kind of happened because I've been a very competitive person my entire life, and if it wasn't gaming, I did volleyball before gaming for like 6 years, and I was also pretty decent at it for like I was a kid though, but still for being at that level back then, I was pretty decent, and I've just always been very competitive. Card games, board games, you name it, I will try and win every time, and or just get good at it because I do not like being bad at something. I cannot have fun and being bad at something at the same time. I don't think those two connect for me. I can just not have fun seeing myself losing. And with the years, it just like I figured out there was a competitive scene, a female scene in Counter-Strike back then. And I found some Danish girls and we kind of created a team, and I outperformed them eventually. And someone else, when I was probably 15 years old or something, someone noticed that I was decent for being on a not so good team and picked me up, and then kind of snowballed from there. And then eventually COVID hit and the CS female scene was taking a big hit also. Like we didn't have any LANs and we barely had tournaments. It was really hard to actually just play because there's nothing to play for. But Valorant just came out in that period, and someone said that we should probably look into switching to Valorant if we didn't want to start too late. And because they had heard rumors also that VCT Game Changers was coming to Europe. It was in NA back then, but not in Europe. And if you wanted to be ready for it, now was probably a good time to start practicing for it. And then it kind of just went from there. We switched, and after a year or so, we won champs, and that's where everything like really popped for me. Compared to how many years I've actually been competing, been winning a lot of different titles before, but nothing matched up to the first champs in Valorant. It just crazy boomed. And then from there, we had a lot of roster changes. And eventually I suggested to IGL, and that kind of really made me a different player also, because now I had to take a lot more responsibility and control the full game, and just trying to make the game as in 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 touch with my brain. And now here we are.
I have some questions about the IGLing, but I want to ask first, because you did play Counter-Strike. What do you think Europe has that NA doesn't for Counter-Strike players?
I mean, it just seems like it's more popular in terms of the player base. And I think that's also something you can compare to like men and female. Like, it's just more popular for a man to play, and it just seems like it's the same for Europe and North America. And when you have a bigger player base, you naturally have a bigger talent pool, and it's just you will always see the same kind of players shuffle around in the top of NA, where in Europe you will see a lot of those like tier 2 getting picked up, or like new talent develop constantly. So I think it's just about a popularity of the continent itself. Because also, like, you can say the same with League of Legends, right? Like, it's way more popular in Asia, and why is that? I'm not sure, but therefore they're the best at that.
No, that makes sense. With IGLing, what are some things that that you do to, I guess, how has your game evolved becoming an IGL? Because obviously when you're IGLing, you just aim more poorly. Just the fact that you're trying to lead people, just your focus is taken off aiming.
Split.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just trying to survive sometimes. Like, I remember times where it's like someone runs by me and I'm looking at the mini map, and then like they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm looking at the mini map, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But and it's a very tough role, and I think it's under a lot of scrutiny, right? Because anyone just sees kill death ratio when they look at stats, right? There's so many things in between those kills and deaths that lead a team to victory, but they're just not documented. There's no data on it, right? So how do you feel like your game has been since you started IGLing?
It's definitely been up and down, but I think it's about how you lead. I think it's really important. Like, obviously everyone has their own style. Some people are like super micromanaging, and some people are more like loose, maybe also depending a little bit of what kind of players you have on your team. Personally, what I have been trying to focus a lot on throughout, like, now we have 4 people from last year too, so we're going into like year 2 of a full team, I would say. And one thing that I'm trying to constantly focus on is how, like, why did I manage to for example, like, is it because why am I looking so much on the radar? And if I'm looking so much on the radar, usually it's because the communication on the team is not good enough. And so for me, I'm addressing those situations, like, this is where we can improve as a team for everyone to thrive and be good and be in their role, because there is so much more to it. I personally don't want to be the non-frag in IGL. I think I have the capabilities of fragging and still carrying also some games if that's the case. And I also, this year, I said to myself that one thing that I thought I was lacking at the end of last year was the firepower, and probably it also was a bit of burnout more than anything. But I think when you have like a stable aim routine, or just a routine in general, your consistency in game will be better. So that's also one thing that I promised myself, that aim routine is really important. So I'm aim labbing, guys. I am.
we actually didn't want to bring it up. It's all like video until the very end. But yeah, I was on YouTube the other day, and then your video came up, and it was like 2 weeks old or whatever, and it's like, first time opening Aimlabs, and then I clicked on it. I was like, okay, I got to check this out. I guess it's been about 2 weeks. what do you think? And I know Wayne has questions about like that very first time you're in there, but for me, it's about, has it actually helped?
We can have a separate call about what sucks in those experiences.
Yeah.
That'd be something else.
Yeah.
We don't have to air all of that. Like, how terrible was this, and what can we do to fix it? That'll be a separate thing. But yeah.
I mean, I see myself being very consistent lately, and when I'm not consistent, it's also translated a bit into like being messy on the team. Like the whole communication is a bit messy, or there's no real good flow right now, or I'm in a state of maybe frustration, and that kind of make sure that you don't really aim that well. I did make a role change from last year. I was flasher before, and I think as a flasher role, you naturally look way more on the radar. And now being smoker, I can focus a bit more on myself and make sure that I also have my eyes on the crosshair and just listen to my teammates. And if I hear that, there's maybe no comms, I will look at the radar and be like, what is going on? And then try and fix whatever is going on. But I do see myself being more consistent, and that can easily be because of the aim routine. It's nothing that I really tried to implement before, just because it's also a lot of work. Like
You
you will have to put like 30 minutes to an hour for it to also pay off, right? Like you don't want to just do 10 minutes and then be like, yeah, that's it. But if you really want to do it, which I want to do, I'm really trying to do it every day. I would say at least do it about 5 times a week. And usually if I don't do it, I have forgotten, or I'm just really tired. Or I went from practice to the sofa. Now it's 1 a.m. and I'm like, okay, tomorrow.
Yeah. So I know you're using the Demon 1 routine, right? Like the modified version of it.
I'm using the it says Mini God and Demon 1. Okay. Where it has like both tracking and flicking and all these kind of things. And I feel like it's a really good mix, because I just uploaded an ace I did, and one of the comments was, you did really well tracking on Phoenix, and I was like, yo, I'm actually tracking in Aimlab. So
okay, we didn't pay you to say this.
No, I was like, yeah, maybe if I hadn't been practicing, because that is one thing that I've seen constant improvements on, is the tracking. Because in the beginning I was like, it's like it gets me on the edge, because the ball is so small and I have to track this thing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so hard. And as I said, if I'm not good at it, I will be frustrated. And just frustrating me so much that I could never like track this ball, and I just see like the score going higher, and that I'm actually improving at it. And then you can see on the clip that is actually one thing that I implemented into my gameplay.
And you said you were doing it after practice, right? Not before?
Yes. And I always do it after, because aim training is like it will wait, how do you say this in English? Like it's fatiguing. Like it makes you tired, or like it requires its training, right? I would kind of see it like if you are weightlifting, you will do the cardio after weightlifting and not before, because you want to make sure that this is the last string you're pulling and you're giving it all. And also the learning, like to make sure that it sets. It's always better to do something in the evening before sleep time rather than
memory consolidation.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So if I warm up, it will usually be like DMs or TDMs. I usually do TDMs because I like to like have the utility implemented and stuff, and really be like warmed up that way. And then I will have my practice time, and I will end the day after rank. Whenever I know I'm done playing Valorant, then I will do the aim routine.
Oh, that sounds good.
How do you handle, as someone who is, and I think I'm the same way, that innately competitive, in the same thing, like if I am terrible at it, I don't enjoy it. And either I'm going to get good enough at it, or I'm just going to lie to myself and say it sucks, and then I'm going to go do something else. I'll blame that instead of me, right? But so how do you handle, because it is a real problem of burnout. When you have like that level of competitiveness and that drive in you, it can sometimes carry you into like a burnout zone where you'll just I'm just going to kind of work through it or whatever. Are you able to kind of self-assess and really know like, okay, I'm burnt out, or is it usually like I'm like super burnout? And like when you realize it, what do you do? Like how do you try and recover from that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever been in like a really hardcore burnout, but last year was probably the closest to a burnout. I wouldn't say that it was something real because I still had the passion,
Yeah.
but it was more of a exhaustion. Like, wow, I have to practice again today or something. Like when you have that kind of feeling, I know that oh, it's probably not good. And usually every day I'm excited to play. And if I after practice feel like I really don't feel like playing anymore, and if I then play because I would feel guilty about not playing, that's where I stop myself. I'm very aware that I need to do what I like to do and not do it because of anything else. If I have anything that like some real problems in game, like I am not hitting or I'm way too unaware, I will try and target my after practice into that. So that could be DMs if I need to, aim routine if I need to, or demo reviewing. I think that is one thing that is very underestimated. And some people just think that you should just grind a game and then you'll just be good at it. But on a competitive level, that doesn't work like that at all. And what reviewing is one thing that is really important. And when I don't feel like playing, what reviewing is a really good alternative to practicing, because one thing you can also learn actually how to aim and position yourself through a VOD review rather than trying to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's the case? Because I mean, for sure that's true, and you see it in all traditional sports, or like when I did combat sports, we'd record sparring sessions, even in the gym, and we were too tired. We'd even watch not even just fights, but we'd watch our own sparring footage and stuff like that to like pick up on things and bad habits or kind of what we were doing and improving. But it is like so common to hear, like you want to get the game, just play all day, every day, just play, 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 play. And it seems so silly because for sure there's other. First of all, that's not the only thing that's important and the only way to learn. But you can play and play, and if you don't have that observation of like this is what I'm doing right or wrong or whatever, you're just doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just suffering.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think it's also just coming down to like knowledge about how to do things. Like on traditional sport, no coach will tell you to only play, play, play. Like if you want to make a long jump, don't just jump, jump, jump. Like you need to practice a specific or train a specific muscle and stuff. And I think many people just don't really know about it or are way too lazy to do it because it is the boring hard work that you don't want to do. Like
Yeah.
and when you have to do that, it's easier to just not do it and think like, yeah, but I played the game 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're still making the same mistakes that you're
Yeah.
not aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see it all the time where people are like, cracked aim, but they're gold in whatever they're playing, right? Because that's like the only thing. That's what's wonderful about competitive gaming is like, aim is a tiny portion. I mean, the weighting of that skill is different from game to game to game. That's the beauty of esports is it's such a complex mix
Yeah.
of mechanical skill, cognitive skill, perceptual skill, emotional skill, all of those things combined as everybody meets to do that. But it is a lot of like, and especially I think aim, and maybe it's not to my benefit to say this, is like one of the main culprits that people are just like, oh, it's related to aim, and it's like, no, it's not. Your crosshair placement sucks. Your game sense sucks. You shouldn't have even picked this agent given this composition. Like there's all of these things, but I wonder if that is. I think you're exactly right that it's also some level of awareness where it's easy to be like, if I just landed more shots in this exchange, I would have won. So I'm going to go work on my aim instead of like, actually, I was completely out of position. I didn't, understand all of these things, but they have no way of knowing that or even knowing that's a thing that exists without somebody else, trying to explain it to them or help them out.
Yeah.
One thing that I have heard a lot throughout like my career is this like uh well, I don't understand why I'm not fragging now. Like, I was just playing so good in DM and like I was just owning everyone. And for me, that is, I mean, the most obvious answer that I just don't understand. Some people would not know is like, it's because you don't know what you're doing in game.
It's so simple.
Yeah, but you're probably taking out utility at the wrong time. You're probably at the wrong position, or you probably pushed a bad push. Like you're not aware. You don't know what you're doing, and that you don't put yourself in adventurous advent.
Advantageous.
Yes, exactly, positions. And that's why you see sometimes like all these IGLs um out out aiming or like out shooting some star players of the other team because they're just smarter. They just position themselves better or caught a better timing because they understand what's going on in game. And these like superstars are just like full W, send it, and then they're getting shut down. Like, what? How did he do that? He's so lucky. I mean, you can be lucky, but you're not lucky 5 times in a row.
Yeah. Well, and those people playing DM are sitting outside A on Haven where the flower pots are and killing everyone in
Oh,
DM from that
yes.
location.
And then he goes GG's.
Yeah. Have you actually been playing a lot of ranked recently?
It's very up and down. I'm tracking it. I think this week I played like 17 ranked games, and then the week before it was a little bit more, and then it was like 38 ranked games. So it's like it kind of it's really like what's my vibe today, and um also depending a little bit on how much I'm playing in the weekend. That is where I usually really get a lot of games going. But some weekends, like for example, this weekend, my parents is coming to visit. I'm not gonna play this weekend. I'm gonna be with my family. So next week, obviously, it's gonna be a lot less games than the week before, and that's just like kind of. I'm just a feeler for that more than anything. And then there's some things that I just stick to, and that would be like aim routine or VOD reviewing, watching VCT, to like stay sharp that way.
Do you find that, well, I don't know how it is in Europe. I've never played Europe ranked, but is it as toxic as NA?
Yo, everybody is saying that EU ranked sucks, but I think it's just also about understanding how many different cultures we have here.
Yeah.
And like being from Spain is not the same as being from Scandinavia, for example, or from Italy or from France. Like everyone is just like every country has their own little way of being or their own little personality, and everyone online, like every country has their toxic players. And sometimes you're very unlucky that you queue into those people over and over. But then I would also say it depends a little bit about how you handle it too. Because if you just fight fire with fire, you're not gonna get a good game out of it. It's just not possible. And I think if you know how to handle certain personalities, you can have a different experience than the previous person who just dealt with this person. So I think it's a bit like, okay, some people are just like, they're not to save. It's not possible. But some people are like, you're just triggering them also. And you're just feeding them what they want to like go off on. And I think I'm pretty good at like being like handling people, and maybe it's because I've been playing with so many young players now that I have this mother instinct now, and I know how to handle ego sometimes. um but I hear often that people are very toxic in ranked, and I'm just like, I don't really have those experiences that much, but I do have them like 1 in 20 games, I would say, but really not that often. Maybe it's also sometimes they just know who I am and they're like, I cannot say too much because I might get canceled. And that's right. If you're talking big shit to me, I will post it online and be like, yo, do not pick up this guy.
That's perfect. I only asked because I guess if you have any advice for young women out there that are playing ranked and are running into these people, I only think about it because I have a niece, right? She's 13 years old. She was playing Valorant. I kind of like walked by. I'm like, "Oh, you're playing Valorant?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm playing unranked." I'm like, maybe stay there. Like,
I mean, one thing I always tell when people are like, "How are you handling it?" And one thing I always do is like say like talking in agent select, so people are aware. Like, hey, you have a girl on your team, and if it's the problem of being with a girl, you can fix it now. Like, you can dodge, okay? So that is the one thing that I always tell people because girls are always saying like, I'm afraid of talking, I'm afraid of being blah 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 blah, and usually many of the guys that don't want to play with girls, they will dodge. They will literally just dodge you, and then you'll have another experience, like a better lobby next, because you would probably just be like, "Hey," and then they're like, "Yo, what's up?" And then it's cool, right? And and then you just take it from there. Like, obviously, do not try and be toxic towards the other players because they will probably fire back at you. But usually, when people are also just like some people are just, you don't understand them. Like, you don't understand why they have this logic of, or like this idea of women, and there's probably just some, worse thing in their life going on, and then muting is just the next best option, in my opinion. I try really not to do it too much because I'm a team player and I really want to hear what they have to say in terms of information. I don't care about their life stories, but but I really want to know if someone is trying to flank me, and maybe this guy can tell me. Um, but yeah, I usually just really, I don't want to fight back with them because that is what they want, and
Yeah.
it really sucks. Like, you are just an easy target as a woman in gaming. It is what it is. I think personally it's better with the years from how it was when I played Counter-Strike. It's way better. I also think the Valorant community is more positive for women. Um, and maybe it's just also because there is, I don't know, like for me in Counter-Strike, it was always like Russians were always after me. I don't know what their problem was, but it was always the Russians. There's not a lot of Russians in Valorant as there is in Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's also like this is what people are saying, like, yep, the Danish people in Counter-Strike, that everyone hate the Danish people. They always say the Danish people are the most toxic. They always have the biggest egos. I'm not saying they're wrong, but you just have these different personalities in different games, and I think Valorant is one of the I wouldn't say safe places, but like friendly places for a woman. You will always encounter uncomfortable people on the internet, and it doesn't matter what game you're on, or if you're scrolling Twitter, or if you're on Instagram, they will be there. It just, that is life, unfortunately.
What do you think has helped it get better over time? Like you said, it seems like it's kind of gotten better over the years, other than maybe Counter-Strike versus Valorant. Do you think there's anything else that's kind of contributed to it, like game changers, or like, kind of Riot, initially starting without
100%, like Riot's involvement in game changers and just like the female scene in general make people respect it, and you just cannot not respect someone that is trying their best, and are really trying, because I feel like that is one thing in Counter-Strike. Again, I'm just always comparing it to Counter-Strike, that you didn't see them much. Like, you wouldn't have these female teams grinding, and like it was just easier to not respect someone that was given something so easily, where in Valorant you have to, like, yeah, we have game changers, but you have to earn your spot there. And like, let's say VCL, like Shopify finally qualified after 4 years. Like, they earned their spot there. Fluorescent in VCT, she earned her spot there. Like, everything is earned, in my opinion. And there's so many female teams that are working so hard just just to try and get to the top, like just to try to get to the top of their regional game changers. Like you see all these contender teams in GC, in EMEA, and they're all working so hard because they all want to be there. And I don't think you really see that in any other game. And that's why I think Valorant is better, but I'm sure it's very different in other games.
You think that there's way more female players in Valorant in general? It just seemed like Valorant got the aesthetic right, the agents right, and it just attracted so many females to play this game. That like I see a lot of people, they've never even played a shooter game before, and they're like, I'm playing Valorant.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think it really helps to create like some really cool agents and make them women. Like that feels powerful as a woman, you know? Like a part of you is kind of represented in this game, and it's cool, and it makes you want to play it and try it out, and then you get a taste of it, and then you want to get good, and then when you're good, then you want to compete, and then when you compete, then you know.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are also saying like, "Oh, it's a children's game." That is probably just, you know, Counter-Strike enjoyers. And these Counter-Strike enjoyers, they always have their funny opinion about Valorant, but usually you don't see Valorant enjoyers having their funny opinions about Counter-Strike. 'Cause I think both games are great. I think personally Valorant is more fun because it kind of makes you think a bit more, and I like that. I think it's more fun to like, you really have to like think and be focused, or else you're just gonna get punished.
Yeah.
But in Counter-Strike, you can just run it down and out aim everyone, and then you're the goat. But in Valorant, we stop goats. We can punish them at least.
We need that on a shirt now.
That's
We need
another one. That's I'm gonna ask Riot about that in the next partnership call we have. Look, I'm telling you, Mimi had a great idea for a shirt. It's just Valorant logo. We stop goats. Let's go. Sell it. Put it on sale now.
After you won that GC championship, do you feel like you got famous? Like when you go outside, are they like Mimi, like, you know, like standing there?
You know who bought a treadmill today?
Yeah.
Yo, they're lining up by my door. It's really weird. No, I mean, in the real world, no, but obviously, I think in the field, I am well known, and I think it's just like I'm kind of, you know, one of the few in EMEA that really made it in Game Changers. So I think it's just easy to remember. Like you have these few faces when you think Game Changers. There's a few names that just instantly pop, and I think my name is just naturally there because of champions. And yeah, I mean that is what it is. But when I go on the street, nothing happens. I completely nobody knows who I am. I'm just 148 centimeters person that just, you know, living her life.
We'll check back in a year and we'll make sure.
Okay. I got a win chance this year to get those people to notice me on the street.
Yeah.
I need more coffee.
I don't. I'm drinking Red Bull currently. It is 9 p.m. though, but it just tastes too good to not do it.
We have another team member behind, and he basically lives on Red Bull, like, or at least he did for a while. Like, if he were to bleed, he would bleed.
What's his favorite flavor?
Come on,
just regular.
Okay, no, I'm not prepared for this. No, just the regular. Yeah, just the regular.
Okay, yikes. Okay, good.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Blueberry for me is the best.
Oh, the flavored ones are actually so good.
Some of them are like a bit too. Like when you have the like 10th sip, you're like, oh, okay, I want the regular now. But the blueberry one, it just, I don't know, I cannot get tired of it. I cannot. It's at the point in G2 when we have like media days, they will always make sure that we have the blueberry Red Bulls because that is Mimi. That is just the definition of me. It's a blueberry Red Bull. I will probably, if you got my mains, there will probably be blueberry Red Bull coming out. Yeah.
Well, like normally I don't like the taste of Red Bull, but when I tasted one of the flavored ones, I think the first one I had was like mango or something. I was like, oh my God, this is good.
Yeah.
When we went to Japan for VCT Masters there, my wife was drinking Red Bull vodka because she didn't know that there was Red Bull in it or vodka in it. And then I was like, what? So I'm like, you've been drinking this? She's like, yeah, I feel like really energetic right now and like kind of drunk. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what? I'm here on work. Act proper.
Do you have like, I mean, we get questions about that all the time too, about like how caffeine kind of affects performance and like, you know, when you're, you know, does like your caffeine intake differ between, you know, maybe practice versus, you know, ranked versus, you know, actual competitions?
Not really, honestly. I think it's just like a natural thing throughout my day. I am mindful though about how much. First of all, like I am a tiny person. I know that I cannot chalk down 3 Red Bulls without feeling crazy things and probably and it's just like I really am aware of when it's too much and when I have to like try and even it out with some water or get some food, get some salt to like even out the sugar I also had. I think I'm very good at that. I'm very aware of when things are too much. Goes for anything like I cannot eat if I'm not hungry, regardless of how good the food is. Just like
I wish I had that problem.
I know. Same with my boyfriend. He eats the leftovers. I always have left. Yeah, but I'm very aware of what I can take and what is too much and when I need more also.
Yeah, it's good. It could be, you know, it's funny. I had a professor. It was a provocative statement at the time, but she was trying to get home the point of like, you know, we talked a little bit about like context and the effects on the brain. And she was like, look, if you want to smoke weed before a test, that's fine. Just make sure you smoke weed before you study too. She's like, it kind of doesn't matter. Like you can have these kind of effects. I don't know if anyone's ever done a study, but you know, that level of context. But I wonder if that's true too. Like almost if you're used to drinking a bunch of caffeine, right? Like I am. Like if I don't have coffee and stuff like that through the day, I perform worse, I think, later without it because I'm so used to like training and operating in that way that if I don't have it, it feels like something's missing. Then vice versa.
I mean, your body definitely gets addicted to caffeine. Just it is what it is. If I can easily go without it, like if I'm on vacation, and because since I'm a Red Bull athlete, I can get however many Red Bulls I want. So I have a stash, and I can take it whenever I want, right? But when I'm on vacation, I don't usually buy a Red Bull because, well, I'm not playing. Like I don't need it. I can go by with just drinking water then. But many times I will get like headaches the first 2 days just because my body is just so used to it and now it's not getting it. And it's even worse if I don't have my glasses on even. I'm just blind with a big fat headache then.
Yeah, that's not much of a vacation.
No.
Just
No. That's for sure.
Wondering, do you want to spend the rest of the time? Because I'm actually interested about your first time in Aimlabs, like the experience, not even necessarily playing the tasks or doing the playlist or whatever, but like, was it easy to get in there? Was it intuitive? Was there anything you're like, why the fuck did they do this?
or things that you wish existed that we could make just for you and be like, look, this is
Just mine. Nobody else can use it.
yeah.
I mean, the 1-2 weeks ago was definitely not my first time in Aimlabs. When I joined G2, Aimlabs and G2 had a thing with each other, and we were using it to implement. Like our coach back then was like, we need to just implement this for everyone because, well, aim training is good for everyone, right? And I got really into one task because it was just fun and it was quite addicting to beat my high score. And I got pretty good at it, I think, at least. Sometimes I was number 1 on the leaderboard. And then yeah, I know. And yeah, that was like the hype for me, that score. But now for me, it's just, it's important to do what I'm there to do, and it's actually to train my aim. And when you train your aim, you train a bunch of different things. And I have never had any issues. Oh, there's actually one thing where I don't know if it's like that anymore, but whenever you're on a different computer, so if I am going from my home setup and I'm going on bootcamp and I'm going on a different computer, I have to put all the same settings. That like the settings are not saved when you log in. Like you log into your account, but it's not saved settings. So like you have to do the crosshair and the tiles and everything.
We definitely save them, so that was for sure
Above.
not supposed to be like that. I mean, it's not supposed to work like that.
I can double check when we go on bootcamp. We go on bootcamp in March,
Yeah,
and then I
yeah.
can just write you just to see if it's still like that. I just remember that that was annoying for me, but I don't know if it's like that anymore because I recently just started again, and it's like everything is brand new. So I just set everything up, but now I don't know if it's like that anymore.
We'll make sure we have it somewhere saved for sure. So even if we have to, we'll press a magic button for you.
Yeah.
Yo, please. I'm learning. Oh, I just think that is because that for me could make me actually like too lazy to do it, because then I have to set up everything and then I'm like, rare.
Yeah.
But if I know for sure that everything is done, I just have to log in and I'm good to go, then no problem.
Aim training already kind of feels like work, or like you said, like it can be fatiguing anyway. So to be like, oh wait, now there's all this additional work before the work. I'm good.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Forget it.
I mean, I do really like that there's so many different options in Aimlab. Like you don't have only 5 different tasks that you can do, and like everything is so custom makeable. So if there's one thing that you really like to do, you can just drill that. But if there's like a bunch of things that you want to train, but you don't want to train the same task over and over, then there's 5,000 other tracking things you can do. And I think that is, I probably like, especially for me, very important, because else I can just be it can be too repetitive, but you can constantly change things.
Yeah.
And it's easy to make your own list too. So personally, no issues. That was the only thing that I just thought about.
Awesome.
Actually, I had one more question because you were talking about playing the tasks. When you play these tasks, are you trying to go for high scores every time? Or are you kind of just like trying to enter a flow state and let your hands do the work, that type of thing?
I'm always actually trying to enter a flow state because I want to try and implement as much as I can into the game. And I know sometimes when I'm trying to go fast, I will be less precise. And then I'm like, that is not what, like, you're not here to be fast. You're here to train your aim. And then when you're better at training your, like, when your aim is a bit better, you can then be a bit faster. So for me, it's first important to be like more precise. And then I can, throughout like 15 seconds of the task, I will speed up a bit. And if I feel like, okay, I cannot really keep up with the speed, then I will just slow down and focus on being precise. I've also tried to experience a little bit with looking at my crosshair or looking at the ball, because that is a question I've gotten a lot in game, is like, are you looking at the enemy or your crosshair?
Yeah.
And I tend to aim better when I look at the ball rather than my crosshair. So when I focus on that switch, I will actually be better. And that's also one thing in game. Like I look at the enemy, I look at the object that I'm trying to shoot rather than my crosshair.
Yep.
So when I
There's
know that,
biological reasons for that. That is the correct answer. Actually, there's like
I was gonna ask you. Yeah,
it's like
can you explain?
biological reasons for visual information that makes sense because the peripheral vision and what you're not focusing at is better and faster at detecting anything related to motion or like observing a particular thing. So you'll innately be faster if that's the response. Then you move your eyes to kind of foveate and increase resolution, right? So like in the wild, it would be like, oh, is this a prey or predator? Because I see something move in the bush. Like that's why you would move. But yeah, you don't want to stare just at the crosshair the whole time. You'll actually be better. You'll react quicker if you're not. Yeah, in terms of aim and the kind of the motor movement.
It looks like you're doing all the right things, and
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, I'm just gonna do this intuitively, but it's the right
He's a
thing.
world champion. Surprise.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, but I failed 2 years in a row.
Well, you'll get it this year. You'll get
now
it this
because
year.
I'm serious with my aim training, I'm gonna take it home this year.
We're gonna be there watching you just pop off, drop 40 every map, and we won't say it publicly, but we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know it's deep down Aimlab. She's Aimlabbing.
She aimed that last night.
Did you have any questions for us at all?
No, not that I really thought about.
Yeah, even if there was anything that you wanted to kind of chat about or shout outs or any stuff like that.
I wish I prepared a bit more.
Shout out Red Bull.
Yeah.
I love your Red Bull.
Perfect. We'll send that directly to Red Bull Gaming for you.
Thank you. I also took my hair away from my right shoulder just to make sure that Red Bull.
Okay.
I hope they notice.
We'll make sure they notice. We'll just highlight it.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
All right. Well, we can cut it here. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us.
Of
really
course.
appreciate
It was
it. Yeah.
fun. It was fun.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good night.
Much.